Folks, they told us. They told us it was going to be a crazy offseason. Not only did they tell us it was going to be a crazy offseason, they told us that it was going to happen quickly and fast. And before even Game 5 of the NBA Finals, we have a very sizable trade. Desmond Bane has been traded to the Orlando Magic. Wow. Let's talk about this. This is another rambling video. You guys are going to get a lot of these over the coming weeks, coming months, as I am sitting here with a broken ankle. I'm on painkillers. I've had surgery. I've got nothing else to do. So I'm just going to ramble to you guys. So if you enjoy this type of content, leave a like, subscribe. It's all I've got. It's all I fucking got going for me for the time being. But let's talk about this trade because I have thoughts. I have reactions. Immediately, my jaw dropped to the floor whenever I first saw this. Just the initial shock, right? The sticker shock of seeing 4 first-round picks and 1 pick swap for Desmond Bane. The full package is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 pick swap. Those picks specifically, the 16th overall pick in this year's draft. That's Orlando's pick. A 2026 first-round pick, which I believe is a swap. There's something kind of confusing about this pick we'll look at here in a second. 2028 and 2030 unprotected first from Orlando, as well as a 2029 swap. So a really good return for Desmond Bane and a lot to give up for Orlando. And if you just kind of look at their future pick situation now, that's pretty much it in terms of tradable first. They do have Denver's 25th overall pick this year. Outside of that, though, they don't have other teams' firsts to play around with. So they've really gone all in here with this group, at least in terms of their first-round pick capital. They have the trade. I mentioned that there was kind of something confusing about these picks. Fast Breakfast, a podcast for serious NBA fans that is incredibly not serious. They say, so I think the Phoenix 2026 first the Grizzlies are getting is a swap and a confusing one. That was a 4-way swap between Washington, Orlando, Memphis, and Phoenix. Now, I guess this means it's only a 3-way swap between Phoenix, Washington, and Memphis. So Memphis, it sounds like nobody really understands this. It sounds like Memphis is getting the second best pick out of this crop. I'm not entirely sure how the fuck this works at all. It could also be a scenario where Orlando is just giving their swap. I'm not sure. This makes no sense to me. It's the destructive Suns. It's destructive Matt Ishbia and the pathetic Suns and these pick swaps that they've thrown around out there. Will be in 2029, and there'll be a draft pick where there's 14 different swaps involved because the pathetic Suns have decided that they're going to trade Grayson Allen for, Jared Vanderbilt in 7 first-round swaps to go along with it, on top of the swaps they've already done. It's just a pathetic team they are. They really are, and I'm sorry to shit on the Suns about this, but it's just they really frustrate me. But this is the Orlando Magic group now. We look at Bobby Marks, Suggs, Bane, Franz Wagner, Paolo, and Wendell Carter Jr. Them aggregating contracts means they're a second apron team, and they are an expensive team. They were already an expensive team before this, and they are, I guess they broke up 2 contracts in Cole Anthony and KCP, and I'll talk about that here more in a second, but they broke that up into a bigger contract than Desmond Bane, but they're an expensive team. Like, they're one of those teams where you look at their salary cap table, and it's a little bit surprising. And I feel like that's a big reason why they decided to make a move like this, because they almost have to. They're already expensive to begin with. You see, they've got Bane already on here for the Magic. How about that? Shout out to Spotrac. But this upcoming season, you're going to have Bane at $36 million. You have Franz, $38 million. His extension's kicking in. You've got Suggs, $35 million. You've got Paolo in the last year of this $15 million deal, this rookie deal that he's on, and he's going to get max. What's that going to be? $40 million a year. You got Wendell Carter Jr. at $18 million. They're an expensive team, and they're going for it now. This was their sort of push all in. And whenever I first saw the trade, I thought, man, what the fuck is Orlando doing? That's so many picks. You're really going all in for this group. But the more I've thought about it, I actually love it for Orlando. I think it's a tremendous trade. Really, I think it's a good trade for both sides. We'll talk about Memphis coming up, but I think it's tremendous for Orlando. And let me just say this, because I've seen it already. I've seen it quite a bit. By the way, these rambling videos, they're really just going to be all over the map. That's kind of the point of them, so I'm sorry. I've seen it already. I've seen it. Oh, my God. 5 first-round picks. The Mavericks for Luka. The Luka trade. They only got one. Nico, you're not funny, okay? You're not funny. You're about the 5th, 6th, 7th person who's made the same exact joke. Okay, we fucking get it. All right? We get it. We get it. We know. We understand that the Mavs should have got more for Luka. Everyone agrees. All right? We don't need to hash it out every single time. All right? But I like this trade quite a bit. Now, part of why I like it for Orlando is they didn't tap into like any of their young guys, right? They didn't trade Jalen Suggs in this trade. They didn't trade Anthony Black in this trade. They didn't trade Gary Harris. I'm just joking. It's crazy Gary Harris is still around. But you know, they didn't trade any of their young players. It's just picks. You got off KCP, and yeah, you know, the 4 first-round picks is a lot. I think probably one of those picks is required just to get off the KCP deal. That's how fucking terrible he was for Orlando this year. And Cole Anthony, who is a solid player. I don't think he's a negative contract or anything like that, but isn't a piece of your young core or anything like that moving forward in any real serious way. So they were able to get a major upgrade for the roster, an unquestionable top 50 player in Desmond Bane, and probably a top 40 player in Desmond Bane, a guy who fits an exact need for them in terms of somebody who can shoot, but also create and also play make quite a bit. You do all of that without gutting your roster at all. I love it. If we look at Orlando and why they need something like this, I mean, it's not much of a secret. They are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the entire NBA. They were 21st in three-point frequency this past season, 27th the year before that. They don't shoot threes, and of course, they don't make threes. They were dead last in three-point accuracy this year. 32% from three, man. That's so bad. I mean, think about how fucking terrible that is. Like, if you had a player shooting 32% from three, that's bad. That's well below average. What's the league average from three right now? Like 36%, something like that? That is so terrible. That is an entire team shooting that number. And they bring in a guy like KCP. They overpay for him $20 million a year in an effort to try and fix that and mitigate some of those problems. And he was awful. Now you're going to get a solidified three-point shooter, right, in Desmond Bane. So I like this quite a bit for him. I mean, 30% on non-corner threes. Dude, it's honestly hard to stomach. That makes me sick to my tummy looking at that. And it's also a reason why their half-court offense has just been so dreadful. And despite, you know, their size advantages, despite their physicality advantages, despite the fact that they do have two really, really fun, interesting sort of point forwards and these wings and these jumbo playmakers in Paolo and Franz Wagner. And while their defense is still so good and physical, it's why they're just not that great of a team. It's because offensively they stink. And this helps them out so much, and I love it for them. Because we talk about Desmond Bane, and one of the things that immediately is going to be super impactful for them is obviously his ability to space the floor, his ability as a catch and shoot guy, his ability to just find the open spots as a shooter, his ability to come off of screens. He's just such a talented off-ball scorer, good cutter as well, a good transition player. Just such a talented off-ball scorer with his three-point making, shot making. Franz and Paolo are fantastic playmakers, and I think having a guy like Desmond Bane will only just sort of really just prove how good of playmakers these guys are with some of the reads they can make out of pick and rolls and stuff like that. And again, Desmond Bane's ability to float to the open spots, to relocate, so on and so forth. But another thing Desmond Bane does have is, you know, he's a very capable pull-up three-point shooter. Somebody who can get his own three-point shot. I think he was 38% this year on pull-up threes. We've seen over the course of his career since he came in as a rookie, his ability to create for himself has improved dramatically over time. And he's also done, you know, very well in non-Ja Morant minutes, you know, and I think he's also a big reason why the Grizzlies just aren't that bad when Ja Morant's off the court, or when Ja Morant isn't playing, or whatever the case may be, is because Desmond Bane has improved so much in these, in this self-creation role that he's found himself. I'm trying to find Desmond Bane stats without Ja Morant. Google search that. I don't know. I mean, StatMuse is just so often incorrect that take these with a grain of salt. But 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in 25 games without Ja Morant this season. 6 assists. That's not something you think about when you think about Desmond Bane, but it's something you should think about. Because again, he's a very capable playmaker. You know, and it's nothing like, it's not Luka Doncic. You know, it's not even really the Ja Morant, but it's the ability to make basic reads, something like that in the pick and roll, kick out to an open shooter. His pick and roll ball reps have been much improved over his career, and I think it's something that will benefit the Magic greatly, especially considering the possibility there of staggering some minutes. You could have like Franz out there with Suggs, or Paolo out there with Suggs, and then Franz out there with Bane, or Paolo out there with Bane. You can just sort of stagger these guys' minutes, so there's always two capable playmakers on the floor at the same time, which is something the Magic just haven't really had over the last few years. So I really do like this quite a bit, and I wouldn't be all that surprised if you see quite a bit of on-ball reps for Bane. Like, there's times where it feels like Bane is damn near playing point guard for the Magic. That wouldn't surprise me all that much. It sounds kind of crazy to say right now because you don't think of Desmond Bane like that, but he is probably a much better playmaker than you're thinking he is. And another thing about Bane that he's improved so much since he came into the league, and I think it's part of what sets up his game and all the other stuff for him, is his ability as a driver. He's so improved as a driver. And again, this is also something the Magic need, just someone who can put pressure on the rim and just kind of create for themselves. And hopefully that opens up things for the rest of the team. So again, the initial sticker shock for Bane, the picks, the 4 first-round picks, 5 first-round picks. Yeah, it's a little bit surprising, right? We know Mikal went for this, and I think Bane's better than Mikal Bridges. The value is probably around the same, but Bane is better than Mikal Bridges. And Bane, I don't know what his role is going to be on offense, how many reps he's going to get, but there's a world where Bane makes an all-star game in the Eastern Conference. I don't think that's totally out of the realm of possibility, especially with how fucking bad that conference is probably going to be this upcoming season in terms of player depth, with guys being hurt and guys potentially getting traded and whatever the case. I mean, look, the low dribble pickups, the rip throughs, he's got a pretty deep bag in terms of driving. So I do like it for Orlando, man. I like it. I mean, we know Franz and Paolo together are good. Franz by himself is really good. Those two off the floor are a disaster, and Paolo without Franz is a disaster. So just giving somebody else, giving Paolo another player to play alongside who can create for himself offensively, who can space the floor, is just going to help him out tremendously. Like, this is one of those moves that I think is just going to be way more impactful than you might originally think. And with the Eastern Conference being super wide open next year, we say that, but like Cleveland's probably still going to be really good. The Pacers are still going to be really good. The Knicks will probably still be really good. I think we're kind of overdoing it with being like, oh, the East is just like, who the fuck knows, man? The Hornets might win the East next year. Like, I think we're overdoing that. I'll probably end up saying that. If you guys know me at all, I'll probably end up saying that by the time the season starts. But yeah, man, I think that this was a pretty solid move for the Magic, and why I like it too is we just go back and we look at their situation again. They held on to their younger guys. They still have Anthony Black, who I think is a valuable player if they want to trade him. Yeah, I don't know what like Tristan da Silva's value is, probably next to nothing. But and they also have Suggs. They didn't trade Suggs in this deal. Like, Suggs is someone where if they feel at the deadline or next offseason this isn't working, we still need to make moves, Suggs is probably the guy that they look to trade, and I think he has real legitimate value. So there's still that avenue for him. It does make me wonder. Do we think the Magic called the Cavaliers? Like, if you're willing to trade 5 first-round picks, the equivalent of 5 first-round picks, do you think we traded? Do you think they talked to Cleveland at all about Garland? Do you think they talked to Atlanta about trade? Do you think they started this conversation maybe with John Morant being the one they were discussing? Do you think they called Charlotte about LaMelo? That's what I'm kind of interested in knowing. I don't know if we'll ever know it. But if they were originally looking to maybe make a play for a guard, like a legitimate point guard, and decided that wasn't a possibility, so let's shift our focus to Desmond Bane. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. But this feels like pretty fair value for Bane, actually. He's under contract. It's expensive, but it's nothing too crazy. You're getting a top 40-ish player in the league. He's one of those guys who fits in well with pretty much any situation. And on top of that, he's at worst a neutral defender. Like, at worst, a neutral defensive player. Plays really fucking hard. Tries all the time. I think he's going to fit perfectly in Orlando. And I think he's going to be, surrounded by their defensive cast. I think he'll end up being a good defender as well. Like, he'll end up being a positive defender. So I like it quite a bit for Orlando, especially the more that I talk about it. I look at some of the stuff. They need Mo Wagner back. He missed time, obviously, with the ACL tear. Like, he'll be important for them. Team option, I'm assuming they're going to bring him back. Wendell Carter's been so disappointing as of late that I do look at this and I'm wondering if they probably need another big or something like that. I'm also looking at the roster right now, especially with Cole Anthony leaving, who did have moments for them last year. You're kind of really banking on Anthony Black taking a step because I still think you need another guard. Like, you need a guard. You need somebody who, at least off the bench, can come in and generate some offense for you. I'm interested to see what's next for them because I don't think this is it, but I like it quite a bit. And in an Eastern Conference that doesn't, it feels like, you could talk yourself into a lot of teams winning it. I love it. I think they did a fucking great job. Seriously. Now, let's not. I'm getting choked up. I think they did such a good job. Let's talk about the Grizzlies side of this because this is super interesting. The Grizzlies making a move isn't that surprising, right? It's kind of been talked about. It's sort of been discussed. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think, was the one most people thought. People thought maybe John Morant could get traded, but it's really not a surprise that the Grizzlies are making moves like this, right? If you fire a coach that late in the season, it's clear that the front office and the decision makers think this team is not good enough. They get swept in round one. They play the Oklahoma City Thunder, who could very well win the NBA Finals. They don't look that competitive. This isn't really a young team. They don't really have that excuse anymore. It's a young team. Like, this team's been in our lives for a while now, and it just felt like they sort of reached their ceiling with this core. And beyond that, they just really can't stay on the floor together. I mean, I'm actually interested. How many minutes this year did we get of the Grizzlies, quote unquote, big three even playing together? How many minutes? 590 total minutes of those three being on the floor together. That's it this season. And they were great together. And if we were just to go like the last 3 years, error. Okay. I mean, why? Why is there an error? Why don't you just work for me? Last 3 years, these three have played together 1,200 minutes. Last 3 seasons. Guys, that's next to nothing. Over the course of 3 seasons, your 3 best players have played together on the floor at the same time, 1,200 minutes. That is nothing. Like, that's actually nothing. So it makes sense that they decided to rebuild a little bit. Now, one thing I am interested in, I wonder if we'll ever hear about this. I'm interested in whether or not the Grizzlies were just like, hey, guys, we're going to shop Bane and trade him. Or if this was a situation where the Magic hit him up, they said, we want Bane. What is it going to cost? The Grizzlies were like, oh, we're not that interested in trading him. You're going to have to blow us away. And the Magic said, okay, we'll do it. We'll trade you 4 first-round picks. And the Grizzlies are like, oh, fuck. Okay, you guys are serious? Okay, let's do it. I wonder how much of it is that versus how much of it is, the Grizzlies were actively trying to make moves to sort of change up their future. I wonder if we'll ever know about that. But that's immediately the question I have. And then the next question I have is what's next for them? Because this isn't it. They're going to do something else. They traded into the first round. They have a first-round pick now, which they did not have previously. So they've got that going for them. They now have added, you look at their first-round pick, their stable first-round picks prior to this trade, and they didn't have any first-round picks outside of their own. They sent out swaps and stuff here and there. These fucking annoying-ass swaps. They're so annoying. These swaps are so annoying. But now you have a real strong, war chest, if you will, of first-round picks. And we know they have interesting young talent on their roster up and down. It's hard to imagine the Grizzlies not making another move here. You look at their projected starting 5 after this trade. John Morant, KCP, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey. Obviously, Edey's going to miss time to start the season. Jalen Wells got hurt last year, but he was incredible as a rookie. KCP, I guess you're really just kind of banking on him having a bounce-back year, but fuck, he was so bad. So bad. And then off the bench, Scottie Pippen Jr. was a revelation. He was awesome. He's been incredible for them. Cole Anthony is kind of whatever. You have G.G. Jackson. Disappointing second season. We'll see what he does in a bounce-back. This team's not good enough. Like that's just it. And on top of that, I'll also say this team's just not that exciting long-term, really, to be honest with you. Especially considering you're going to have to pay Jaren Jackson Jr. quite a bit of money in the not-so-distant future. So I'm interested to see what the future holds for them. I wrote down a couple of possibilities. What did I have this tweet up? My guy Skin. What do you say? One thing that makes me think of this... One thing this makes me think is that the value of later first-round picks has dropped considerably because of NIL. However, damn man, but if you look at the state of the East, I definitely think a healthy Orlando team is now top 3 squad. in the right side of the map. Yeah, I like this. And I wanted to talk about this because it is interesting to think about. And I've heard other people suggest this, that the NIL stuff and teams and guys going back to college for more money has sort of changed how teams are going to approach the draft. And maybe those late first round picks and even especially second round picks just are really losing value because you're really throwing darts at a dartboard there to try and make something happen there. But I wrote down some possibilities for the Grizzlies just off the top of my head. You know, this trade hasn't been finalized yet, so it's not like these trade machines, so just bear with me. What's next for them? I do think I saw KOC suggest it, and I think it's a possibility that they just sort of completely and totally do a soft reset, if you will, or I saw somebody call it like the Thunder rebuild, where nobody really expects you to rebuild, but you just go for it and you do it a couple years early. Like, yeah, you can still be competitive. You can still compete. You're probably not a championship team, but we're just going to blow it up now and absolutely maximize value on all of our guys. Is that the direction they're going to go? I'd say probably not. Here's KOC's tweet if you're interested in that. If I'm the Grizzlies, I'd consider blowing it up completely down. Trade Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are the highest bidders. Tank in 2026 for this loaded draft class. I highly doubt they do that. This was the tweet I was talking about. This guy, Eugene. Great take, Eugene. Everyone shout out Eugene. Guys, if you've made it this far in the video, let's shout out Eugene. I'm going to start doing that shit now in my videos. Guys, if you've made it this far, leave a comment. Everyone shout out Eugene in the comments. They do have the opportunity to do the oft underutilized 2 years early rebuild like the Thunder did with Westbrook and George, where you trade aging but still good players for 15 picks. Yeah, I mean, let's just say they were to do that. What does a Ja Morant trade look like? I genuinely have no clue. He's one of the bigger wild cards I can imagine. I'm sure a team like Miami would give up a lot. A team that would love somebody like that. I'm sure like Sacramento would give up a ton for somebody like Ja Morant. But what about Jaren Jackson Jr.? Because that feels like where you could get real value, right? And I just thought of some random one like Lakers get Jaren Jackson Jr. and the Grizzlies get Reeves and Vincent and then all of the picks left for the Lakers. Is that enough for Jaren Jackson Jr.? I would say absolutely not. And then maybe you could flip Reeves. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head teams that I think would be interested in Jaren Jackson Jr. And I wanted to include like the Hornets in this, and just bear with me because Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of those guys. He's 25, 26 years old, still incredibly young. You're going to pay him. You know, if I were a team and I had confidence that I could bring him back and re-sign him, then I think every team in the league would be interested. I think there's packages. The Pistons would throw a fuck ton for Jaren Jackson Jr. I think literally every single team in the league, especially some of these teams like Charlotte, who's probably a little antsy to sort of pick up their rebuilding pace and try and be a little bit more competitive. Utah, they would probably make pretty significant offers as well. Like, I think that's one of the benefits of looking into trading for Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, would the Hornets do this? The 4th overall pick, Mark Williams, Nurkic for contracts and future picks for Jaren Jackson Jr.? Do you think the Hornets would entertain that? Like, let's say there's somebody 4th overall, like they don't really love 4th overall. Let's just get Jaren Jackson Jr. One, is that something they would entertain? Two, would that be like a good starting point for the Grizzlies? Like, let's get the 4th overall pick in this draft, future picks, and we're just kind of resetting that way. I don't know. I'm interested to hear y'all's opinion on that, honest to God. What about Spurs? I don't know if the Spurs would trade 2nd overall, but what about Castle? Castle, Sohan, 14th overall pick this year and a ton of future firsts. Does that get the ball rolling on a trade for Jaren Jackson Jr.? If the Spurs call the Grizzlies about that, are they picking it up? Are they having meetings? What about Raptors? What about the Raptors trading for Jaren Jackson Jr.? The Lakers, you have to do 3 teams here. Lakers get Pirtle to make contracts work, and the Grizzlies are getting Connect, Dick. They're getting the white boy shooters contracts and a ton of future picks, including 9th overall this year. Like, does that get the ball rolling at all? That's a question I would love to have the answer to. But I also think I think what's probably going to happen is the Grizzlies are retooling, right? So they're going to try and be competitive this year. They're going to try and win. We knew they were interested in Kevin Durant. We knew they were interested in Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline. Do they circle back to KD? I got to be honest. Today I was thinking about doing a rambling video about Kevin Durant because this whole situation is getting very weird, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I will completely derail. I feel as though the Kevin Durant situation is reaching a point where I think there's a wild card team that's close. I think that's why you're starting to get these, like, KD will only accept extensions in Houston and in Miami and San Antonio. I think that's why you're starting to get those reports. Because I think a team that KD's not all that interested in going to is getting somewhat close. That makes some sense to me. Is there a pathway there for the Suns to get involved in this? Kevin Durant goes to Memphis. Stuff gets rerouted to Brooklyn, and maybe Claxton and some future stuff goes to Phoenix. Could that be a framework for a trade that makes sense there? What about Trey Murphy? I mean, do they ship away Bane to go out and get another great three-point shooter with a little bit more size? And they use the picks that they got and some of their young talent to go and get a guy like Trey Murphy? I don't know. That would be an interesting maneuver just because it would feel a little lateral. Who's better, Bane or Trey Murphy? I do think Bane's a better player right now than Trey Murphy, right? Because I saw people on Twitter say, like, if this is Bane's value, what's Trey Murphy's value going to be? And I was thinking probably similar, right? Trey Murphy is cheaper and taller. But Bane's better than Trey Murphy. It's interesting. Oh, what about like a Herb Jones, like a wing, like a legitimate wing that they feel confident that they could close games with? Lauri Markkanen. Is that a name that's interesting? Denny Avdia. I've seen a lot of Grizzlies fans throw this out. I'm not really sure why the Blazers would trade Denny Avdia. He was so good for them last year. And I thought about this one today. What about Sabonis? So I was thinking, I was like, Jaren Jackson Jr. trade destinations. And then I thought about Sacramento because I was like, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Sabonis are like pretty good next to each other. Like that is the guy you want to have next to Sabonis. If you're going to have Sabonis being a player you build around, you need another big who can block shots and shoot threes. And Sabonis, can rebound, make up for the rebound deficiencies that Jaren Jackson Jr. has. And I thought, oh, what about the Kings trading for Jaren Jackson Jr.? But what about the Grizzlies trading for Sabonis? Is that anything? Is there something there? I don't know. I'm very interested to see how this all plays out, but I really like the trade for both sides. I think Orlando did a great job, honest to God. I know that the sticker shock originally is a lot for all those trades, and we just get so enamored by picks, all of the picks involved in this trade, but I think it's a great fit, and I think Bane's going to do a great job, and he's kind of exactly what they need in a lot of ways. And for Memphis, you got a really good return. For a team that's probably not competing for a championship, you got a really great return. And now you've just opened up a lot of pathways for yourself. Now you've given yourself the optionality to, you know what, maybe we are going to just end it. Maybe we are going to, trade some guys and sort of ride off into the sunset with this group, or maybe this is an opportunity for us to retool a little bit. I don't know. Let me get you guys like these rambling videos? Yes or no, guys? Yes or no? I mean, come on.